A new one from Chrissy T. It's titled Freedom Come. Straight after that one, we also gave you JD Crossan. That one is called For My Good. Absolutely good music on CCFM. And then we also had amazing music taking us to, I think there was a double play that we had on the list. Yep. Taking us to 16:18 Central African time. If you just tuned in, it's the first day of July. Happy new month to you and yours. Warm welcome to the CCFM Drive with Natasha and Romeo.
Now, also, if you're asking, the phenomenal worship that we played, it was a triple play. Travis Green ended it off. It's titled Be Still. Kirk Franklin, an oldie but a goodie. It's titled My Life Is in Your Hands, and started off with William McDowell with Stay. Now, every Monday we do this. We chat to two really, really cool people. Cool is an understatement. I think they're fantastic. I think that they are really funny. I think that they're beautiful people. And what a way to start the Monday. If you are joining us via the social media space, please have a look at our Facebook and YouTube page. That's CCFM 107.5. Andre, the big positive guy, as well as Tina B. Alive. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling gorgeous.
I thought you were going to say I'm feeling ultra.
Oh, here we go. You say that for me.
Altruism. Miss Tina, how are you?
I'm good. It feels like Cape Town's winter has arrived
Yeah,
today.
it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Guys, we're so excited to have you. And I know that we're chatting about a really, really, I think for lack of a better word, cool topic, but also because I don't know what this word means. I didn't even know the word existed.
I think, if I stand to be corrected, but
Yeah.
last week, Andre let it slip for us. And then I was like, huh, what's that word mean? And then he gave a bit of a teaser. So I feel like today we're going to get into that episode. That was a bit of a teaser of what the word is. And we're going to be touching on that, what it is, how it applies in our day-to-day lives. And it's a very interesting one indeed. If you don't know already, this is the big positive guy in studio with us. And we're going to be diving into another big positive topic that we can apply practically in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask the listeners if they've ever heard of the word altruism. And so I'm still going to ask. Maybe let us know. 061 798 1075. If it is new to you, worry not. Andre is here and he's going to put us out of our misery.
Well, last week we used it, and our young gentleman in the corner there sat and looked at me and said, "What is this our word?" And I suddenly realized, I went home and I said to my wife, I said, Romeo didn't know what it meant. And he's such a clever guy.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, what does it mean? So I suddenly realized it's maybe not a word. But for me, it's really important because it's almost a cornerstone of Christianity. It's not only that, it's a cornerstone of being a good human being. So I'm going to give you this lovely definition. Altruism is a selfless concern for the welfare of others, prioritizing their needs over your own.
Wow.
So it's the ability to be able to give.
Yeah.
So you'll find this often in people that volunteer, people that work at old age homes, people that give money when they actually sometimes don't have it, that you actually care for other people's needs more than your own. Such a beautiful word, altruism.
And you're not expecting anything back.
And you're expecting, that is the key to the whole thing,
Wow.
is you're not expecting recognition. And you're not expecting anything to be given back to you. So often we give and we say, if you give, you'll get back sevenfold. Well, this is not it. Altruism is you just giving for the sake of giving. And there's so many different ways that you can do it. It can be in time, it can be in money, it can be in volunteerism. But there's a reason why I've specifically brought it up today, is that this is the month of giving, July, and this is Madiba's birthday. We have the 67 minutes, and I thought I can do it the week of that, but it's too late. If you suddenly wake up on the 18th of July and suddenly realize you've done nothing. So I thought maybe we'll chat about it a little bit and just see what is there that we can do. And so that the 18th of July, maybe we can also get involved and do 67 minutes of something.
I love it. And if you're wondering, this word, it's spelt ALTRUISM. That is the correct spelling if you want to go and Google it. But I've learned something. I knew the concept, but I didn't quite know there was a word to put to it.
Tina Be Alive, I want to rope you in on this one. Firstly, have you heard of the word? And secondly, I want to find out from you, are there any ways that you have seen yourself in your life displaying altruism, or even seen people display altruism?
So yes, I have heard of the word. So thank you for that. Yes, I see it all over. And for me, I started off sort of very early on, just giving back some of the knowledge from what I've been through to friends and family. About, always, everyone always knows that I had this massive surgery and, oh my gosh, Tina, how did you get through it and whatever. And often friends were going in for, I don't know, knee replacements or being diagnosed with cancer or having to go in for operations and things like that. And for me, the way that I give back is I help them through that process because I have tips and tricks that help me through my process. So, and I didn't ever expect anything back for that because I didn't ever want anyone to go through that same process and be as terrified and as ill-equipped as I felt I was.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's how I was giving back.
Yeah.
But it happens everywhere. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, my partner, Pete, he will give the shirt off his back and go cold. And that's exactly the definition of being altruistic is giving back without a thought for yourself. And my fiance is exactly that. I must be honest.
Yeah. I must say I was quite moved this morning because I've been communicating with a chap, bless his soul, a young chap, and he's wanting to start a podcast, and he was saying, I just need some tips on how to, have interviews, what to ask, that type of thing. And so this poor chap has been literally sending me a text every single day. And this morning I just felt convicted to go, Tash, what does it hurt to give at least 2 minutes of your time, call this chap and walk him through it. That's all it has to do. And my point is, sometimes it's hard to be selfless because life just happens. We're so busy doing everything. But why is it important that we practice it now, Andre?
It's one of the and you're just knocking right on the door of what it really is. The ability to be altruistic is the ability to see from another person's point of view. And that costs you nothing. I think we've spoken about it for happiness and said happiness is the ability to be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and recognize the gratitude where you are. So altruism is actually being able to see something from another person's point of view and stepping in to help them. And I just love that. That's so kind. Tina's very kind, but she showed me something she did last week. A friend of hers, her mother, went into hospital also for a major heart operation, and she was terrified. And just the time, it's just the small things, the 2 minutes that you spend on the podcast is just sitting and speaking to someone. The daughter then contacted her and said, I thought my mother would be terrified, but you'd spoken so much calm and so much sense into her that the operation was a huge success, that you didn't feel any fear. And that's what altruism is. So altruism is when you look around and you see that guy on the corner of the street who's obviously homeless, and just when you're making yourself a sandwich for work is making an extra one. It's when you've got a bag of apples, is just taking a bag of apples and putting them in the car and handing them out to people just because you care. And that's one of the things that I loved about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela could have just easily enjoyed the last 20 years of his life and reaped the rewards. I mean, he got over R1 million for the Nobel Prize. There's lots of money that he was getting. And yet he continued giving back all the time. He started children's charities. And if you go through his legacy is that of giving back. And so I think to ourselves, if we can give back. So here's a story. A lot of people say there's not a lot of rich people that you got more than you need. Maybe 6 million in this country. But I've always loved that expression, do one thing. If you have a little bit more, if you have a loaf of bread and there's 4 slices extra, and you can help somebody with that, or if you've got 1,000 rand and you can spare 100 and you make a difference. If you continuously make a difference, that 6 million becomes 12 million people, and 12 million becomes 24 million. So I'm adamant that the only way that this country is going to correct itself is for those who have to help the others and to somehow help them up. It doesn't always have to be money. It could be time. It could be making soup. It can be volunteering in the old age home. When last, it costs nothing to go in an old age home and just go sit there and visit someone. Some of the greatest wisdom I've gleaned in my life comes from sitting from somebody and you sit and chat to them. Can I tell them a quick story? Sitting with an old lady, she wouldn't let me go. She was holding my hand. I was like, she's got like the death grip onto my hand. And she started chatting to me. And I said, so what did you do? She said, I was a supermodel in Italy. She was about 90. And I was like, yes, and that's so nice. And it's loving this tiny little wrinkled thingy. And then she said, and then I moved down to Kenya. And she said, in those years of white mischief, I was one of those. She said, I'm actually the first lady to ever climb Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
And I was like, no. And I said, what year was this? And it was something like 1948. And she climbed it with 200 porters with wooden chests who carried everything up there and stuff like that. And I thought she was just having a sort of a lapse in dementia there. And then she took out the photo albums. And I suddenly realized every word of this was true.
It's true.
We don't know the wisdom that we can glean from somebody else. And in the very process of giving, there's such joy.
Yeah.
There's such joy. Sometimes we're not expecting joy. We're not expecting that repayment. But I think so often when you give to someone and see that it makes a change in their life, wow, what a wonderful thing.
Yeah. And I think she probably appreciated it so much more, just having someone listen to her and go down memory lane on that.
So my challenge is, what are you going to do for your 67 minutes?
I was getting to that question. Yeah.
What you
Okay.
going to do? You're not getting off scot-free. So what does the 67 minutes mean to you? You know, I mean, is it something that you want to play with? If it's something you want to do, or maybe you don't want to do that specifically, but you'll do something else in lieu of that.
Yeah. I know that we, sorry to cut you, I know that our listeners challenged us, particularly Clark and Francis Gordon, if you're listening, to knit a blanket for the CCFM drive. And so we were supposed to confirm, and I was moved.
Who's the knitter? Is that you and Romeo? Romeo is definitely not me and you. This could take a lot longer than July.
67 months.
So that's quite a good challenge, a very good challenge.
A lovely challenge.
And so if you're listening, if you're convicted right now to go, well, how can I give back? This is for you. 061-798-1075. We're joined by Andre, the big positive guy, Tina Be Alive, talking about altruism and also how close it is to Christianity as well, as you've mentioned, because we're taught to love ourselves, or rather love our neighbors as we love ourselves, and to show compassion and kindness.
Definitely. I love the examples, that you mentioned when also you were speaking about it doesn't have to be just financially.
Yeah.
You could give your time and volunteer and go somewhere. You could connect someone with someone. That's also, where you that someone could open up a door of opportunity for someone. Maybe it's through a networking opportunity. It actually forces one to sit back and think, okay, what can I do? How creative can I be, to give of my time? And especially that part, because I think so naturally sometimes we want something back in return. But to say, no, what I'm doing it from the goodness of my heart, and without expecting that. Do we get to a point where we give so much that it gets detrimental to oneself, or it doesn't because of the manner and the way in which we do it?
I think what happens is, and when you said make a whole blanket, I got a bit terrified. So I was thinking, but it's much easier if everyone had to knit a square.
Yeah.
If everyone knitted a square, we could have blankets coming out of our ears. So sometimes let's just confirm it. Sometimes it's time.
Yes.
Sometimes it's money. But have you ever considered, for example, it's the middle of winter, go through that cupboard, which we always have so many spare things that we haven't worn for months and months and months. Go through, clean your house up a little bit, and put some of the stuff, and don't throw it away. See if there's somebody that can use it. We've got a lovely thing in Pinelands where I live. We've got a little Pinelands plant club. And every time somebody goes there and they weed out their plants, their clivias, which have now multiplied and become 200 clivias, they never throw them away. They put them outside on the paving, and they put a little note and say, I've put out 10 clivias if anybody would like them. And all kinds of cuttings, clippings. When they clip their roses, they say there's some clippings there that if you want to grow roses from it. And everyone shares. And it doesn't cost a cent.
Sure.
In fact, it actually saves you from cleaning up.
I love that.
So what is the thing that you can do? Something that you can give, something you can spend some time with? How about just helping a neighbor? What about baking a pie for a neighbor and just taking it, or share some of your meal with them just as a gift? Just extending friendship. Remember what the definition is? It's selfless gifts of charity for which you don't want any return. What a lovely thing to have.
Absolutely
Amazing as well. I loved what you took the words out of my mouth when you mentioned your neighbor or community that you're in. Wherever you find yourself, wherever you stay, it could be as simple as perhaps you made an extra meal. I mean, you made a meal, but you made a huge portion of it, and then you make enough just for you, but the extras you could knock next door and say, hey, I've made X, Y, and Z. Would you like some? Here you go. And that person, that act, can go a long way. And it's so beautiful, especially when we tap into the power of community within that, and how it fosters that growth of taking care of one another and essentially becoming our brothers and sisters keepers.
Absolutely.
And you don't know, and sometimes it does have huge spin-offs. It's, for example, when I moved into my house 27 years ago, the lady next door baked us the most beautiful cake. A homemade cake, but she came around and gave it to us. But I never forgot it until to this day. I remember that it was so unexpected. We were tired and dirty and stuff. And she came around with this beautiful big cake and said, yeah, have a cake. I'm sure you guys need something to eat. And walked off. Didn't expect thanks. Didn't want to come eat the cake with us. Didn't want to hear anything that what we've done. But it was such an interesting thing. And it's blessed me. And I hope in time to come it blessed her as well, because I was so favorably disposed to them after that. I just loved them. I thought they were amazing.
Wow.
Sure. I
Yeah.
love that. All of that just before Nelson Mandela, the 67 minutes. What are you doing? What are you planning to do? As Andre has said, it does not have to be monetary. It can be your time. And of course, something as simple as just making an extra meal for the neighbor. Or if you've got clothes that you've been wanting to get rid of, don't throw them away. Simply go and donate it at a shelter or even the person on the street.
Absolutely. 0617981075. That's the number that you can use. Andre, before we say goodbye, and Tina B, any last words on your end?
I'm trying to think about what we're going to do next week. I keep thinking Bastille Day. I don't know why Bastille Day. It's the 14th of July. I'll see if there's an angle in Bastille Day. But yes, I love this time of the year. Tina's also getting a bit horrified as winter really sets in. But this is really a time for us to just think about those people that are cold and miserable out there, and just to sort of look after ourselves. I think I've been a little bit fluey for the last couple of weeks, and just to look after yourself, be kind to yourself, but be kind to those people around you as well.
Love that. Love that.
I have been going through boxes of clothes from my move. So I have already been sorting out my donate, throw away, keep piles. So I will be continuing with that, and then I will hopefully be able to donate a good portion of clothes that are lightly used.
Love that.
I love that. And through that process, do you ask a friend? Do you already know in your mind which organization you're going to go to? How do you do that? Or do you just wait and then you just see how it goes?
I kind of pray about it, and I wait for something to come along my path. I think God will always show me who needs it the most.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, because I struggle with that as well. I have the clothes here, but I don't know who to give to, you know what I mean? So that's so
Yeah,
beautifully
if you ask, God will tell you.
There's a wonderful charity event that I get invited to every 2 years. It's only in this country. It's called Vintage with Love. And on the 1st of August, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of August, they have this massive vintage clothing sale. And it's the best of the best. It's evening dresses and wedding dresses and things like that. And it's very, very fancy. But there is a place for everybody. Even, like we're probably the beneficiaries of those clothes. Because my wife is very happy to go there and pay 200 Rand for a jacket or 100 Rand for a jacket. Because it's cheap compared to what it really costs. And this particular charity does it every single year. And every year they raise between several million Rand.
Sure.
And then they take the money and they donate that to children who can't read.
Wow.
So even the clothing can sometimes be converted into money. There's a website called Jaeger that you can sell your clothes if you want to do that and make some money. But if you want to take the money and give the money away rather than the clothes, that's also an option.
So many ways. Alvina saying, hey, Natasha and Romeo and the team, just heard your topic. Every neighbor helps a neighbor who will need help. As saying, I heard whilst being Muslim. Thank you so much for sharing, Alvina. And that is how we wrap up this conversation today. We are challenging you not only to be able to give back without expecting anything back, but also think of how you can contribute to your 67 minutes.
Tina Be Alive, as well as Andre the Big Positive Guy. One big question: how can we reach out to you or just stay up to date with what's happening?
So for me, it's Tina Be Alive on all social media platforms.
And I think I'm going to go back to LinkedIn again and say, you go to LinkedIn. It's a wonderful social media platform, probably the biggest one in the world at the moment.
So much power in LinkedIn.
So much power. And it's a great way to connect with business people. Yeah. And you just look for the Big Positive Guy.
Here we go.
And you'll find me.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you so much for your time. And as I've said, you're both looking absolutely fantastic and gorgeous and happy and positive, most importantly. Still to come, we have Chloe with Don't Worry About Me, and then, of course, Traffic with Romeo.